Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Rainier Books from Sweden, where I talk about books in English, books that I read, mostly very contemporary books that were published recently or are going to be published soon. So today there's a single review of a book that I really liked. This is the novel Small Worlds by Caleb Azumah Nelson. Small Worlds is Caleb Azumah Nelson's second novel. His first one, Open Water, came out 2 years ago in the summer of 2021. Open Water was a love story, a very beautifully depicted love story of a man and a woman in South London, and a lot about black culture, about black movies, about black music, about black art. And it was a discussion of a young man and his feelings that he had some problems to articulate. This lack of communication, this inability to articulate feelings is also mentioned and is also a part of Small Worlds, but Small Worlds goes a lot further because we don't have this microcosmos of two people in this novel. We have a much wider cosmos, a small world of people living mostly in this novel in Peckham in South London. Peckham is a place where I've been a couple of times when I visited London. I love Peckham. It has been called the Lagos of Europe because there are many Nigerians living there, but not only Nigerians, people from all different countries of Africa with African background are living in Peckham, but also with Caribbean background and from all over the world. And this is a part of London not so far away from the city actually, which has been gentrified in the last 10-15 years, and it's getting more and more expensive to live there, even in Peckham in South London, because London sort of is expanding the expensiveness of all these apartments and houses. Well, anyway, Stephen is a young man who is, we're talking now 2010 to 2012. Stephen is a young man in 2010 growing up in Peckham. He's 18 years old. In the beginning of the novel, he will be 20 when the novel finishes, Small Worlds. He is living with his parents who came from Ghana. They immigrated from Ghana to the United Kingdom years ago, and their two sons, Stephen and Raymond, were born in England. So they're first-generation immigrants. And they're living in this beautiful Peckham community where the mother Stephen has a very close relationship to his mother. And we follow Stephen and his family over the course of 3 summers. There's a beautiful soundtrack. A couple of months ago, I read Jacqueline Crook's novel Fire Rush, which also plays in London, in Black London. And it also gave us a soundtrack from the end of the 1970s, in that case, with a lot of dub and reggae music. Here we also meet a lot of black music in this novel, Small Worlds, and the soundtrack is as beautiful as Jacqueline Crook's soundtrack. So these novels are quite comparable, I think. And the case in Caleb Azumah Nelson's novel with Stephen is that he's a young man, 18 years old. He wants to become a musician. He plays the horn. He meets this beautiful girl, Dell, who also is a musician. She's DJing. They fall in love with each other, but like the guy in the novel Open Water, Stephen has problems of articulating his feelings towards Dell, to really tell her that he wants to be with her and he loves her. But nevertheless, they get together and they have a very beautiful relationship which goes off after the first summer. And in the second summer, we have a very hard event, a very hard incident in the family that is going to happen. There's a lot of grief that Stephen has to deal with because someone close to him is going to die. And Stephen is also trying to, his relationship to his father, who's a first-generation immigrant, his name is Eric, is sort of breaking apart. His father doesn't want him anymore. His father throws him out of the apartment because Stephen finishes university. He breaks up his university, his college education, and he comes back for doing music. And Eric cannot accept that. He doesn't want to talk to Stephen anymore. He says, leave my apartment, leave our home, try to get something, try to work, do whatever you do. You're on your own now. and the mother is trying to intermediate between father and son, but it's very difficult. In the third chapter, in the third part of the book, the last part of the book, which is about 220 pages, we meet Stephen again, and the relationship to his father is at core of this last part. They will have beautiful dialogues, they will have beautiful discussions, and they get closer together in the end of this novel. Small Worlds is a novel about a young guy growing up in London with his Ghanaian descent, but also it's about immigration and about first-generation immigrants, not only from Ghana in this case, where we have the food and the music, which gives us a lot of environment, which gives us a lot of authenticity. It is a novel about immigration in general. You can have this here in Sweden, where we have lots of Finnish immigrants who came to Finland, who came to Sweden from Finland in the 1960s and the 1970s, hundreds of thousands, and they always traveled back to their motherland each and every summer. I've experienced that quite a lot over the years, because I also traveled to Finland. And I saw this, that people are returning to where they came from once before they emigrated to Sweden. And we have this experience here as well with Ghana. Lots of people who go back to Ghana each and every summer, and who go for the food, who go for the feeling to the motherland. And each time, and each and every year, the motherland gets a little more distant from what it once was. Although we have one character in this novel who goes back to Ghana and continues her life over there. So this novel is rich. It is rich of this experience of being young in London, of living with the music, of falling in love. And Caleb Azumah Nelson is really good in describing a love story, in narrating a love story, so that you never feel that it's like schmaltzy or melancholic or whatever. It's a bit melancholic, yes it is, but he is using a language, a very poetic and beautiful language, that makes you never feel ashamed to read this kind of love story, you know. Usually I don't read love stories that much. I read a lot about misery in my reading. But he's not only good in he's good in describing relationships between people. It's this relationship with Dell, with his girlfriend. It's the relationship to his father that is absolutely stunningly beautiful, described in the third part of the book. It's him coming back, it's him being with his friends and going out. There's a lot of description of that first generation immigration. There's a lot of description of this racism also that they have to suffer, that they have to go through. It's London. It's Tony Duggan, it's a guy called Duggan, who was killed in 2011 by the police, stopping black people in the streets, and police is violent against them. It's all this difficulties of coming a part of the society they live in the majority society, which is still white in the UK. There's a lot of racism, there's a lot of negativity there as well. Full of atmosphere, full of feelings, full of relationships, full of music, full of beautiful food. I have to cook Ghanaian food now, and I'll leave you with this novel. Read it, and I hope that it gets nominated and longlisted for the Booker, as I predicted 1 week ago. I see you soon in another video on this channel. Subscribe if you like this, and hit the like button. You're helping me a lot. And bye.